Lawyers representing residents of Cooper's Pen in Trelawney have filed a lawsuit before the Supreme Court accusing the state of breaching their constitutional rights during the controversial demolition exercise last week, Tuesday. Details in this report.
The lawsuit was filed today before the Supreme Court by attorney at law Donovan Collins. In the suit, Mr. Collins is accusing the state of violating the constitutional rights when a large contingent of police and military personnel went into the community and arrested more than 2,000 men ahead of the demolition exercise. Mr. Collins is asking the court to declare that the men were taken from their homes and illegally detained in violation of their constitutional rights. Mr. Collins is seeking damages for breaches of their constitutional rights, damages for false imprisonment, and damages for assault, among other damages. Human rights group Jamaicans for Justice, JFJ, has also accused the police of breaching the rights of the residents who were detained without cause. The police say the men were detained for questioning before being released. Opposition.
Well, there you have it. Mrs. Helene Coley Nicholson, the president of the Lawyers Christian Fellowship, is right about one thing. If the state violated the constitutional rights of the men detained at Cooper's Pen, and the courts find that to be so, they deserve compensation. But here's the question nobody seems to be asking. Why must the taxpayers always be the final payer for political failure? You remember the FinSac debacle? Who paid for that? Why must the taxpayer always be the final payer for political failure? The taxpayer did not create the land dispute. The taxpayer did not occupy the land. The taxpayer did not own the land. And the taxpayer didn't make the political decision that allowed this problem to fester for years. Yet when government gets it wrong, the bill comes to the taxpayer. And here is the problem. Compensation is not accountability, you know. Paying damages may restore the victim financially, but it doesn't answer who made the bad decision. And the strategy pursued by the PNP was bad. It was a bad strategy. It does not answer who made the bad decision, why they made it, what legal advice they ignored, or what will prevent it from happening again. And if we really believe in the rule of law, then the rule of law has to apply to the government too. The PNP cannot use compassion to escape responsibility for its failed intervention. And the state must stop using the taxpayer as the endless insurance policy for its political failure. Cooper's Pen should therefore not become another political competition over who cares more. It should become a national conversation about something much harder. How do we create a country where citizens have secure, lawful access to land, where private property is protected, where court judgments are respected and where vulnerable people aren't abandoned. And where taxpayers aren't repeatedly forced to pay for the failures of political leadership. Because I tell you this, ultimately, the taxpayer is also a citizen. And justice, people of Cooper's Pen, you have my regards. But justice for the residents of Cooper's Pen cannot come by creating injustice for every Jamaican who has to pick up the bill. Justice for the people of Cooper's Pen cannot come by creating injustice for every Jamaican who has to pick up the bill. We must not make the taxpayer the victim that nobody remembers. Because if government must compensate citizens because the state has violated their rights, the victims should not have to fight the state indefinitely for compensation. But taxpayers should not also receive, or taxpayers should also receive, if we are going to pay the invoice, we should demand a full accounting of how the violation occurred and what institutional reforms will prevent its repetition. We can't just pay a bill so and we don't see no invoice. In other words, compensate if you must. Investigate the state, identify the failure, and fix the institution. We have to hold decision makers politically accountable, otherwise we are just creating a cycle. The cycle is that the state makes mistakes, the citizens sue, taxpayers pay, government apologizes, same thing happens again and again and again. That is not justice. That's an institutional recycling of failure. We must not make the Jamaican taxpayer the victim that nobody remembers. Taxpayer is a citizen too, and justice for the residents of Cooper's Pen cannot be injustice for every Jamaican taxpayer who is now going to be faced with another invoice to pay for governmental failure.